Frank J. Avella with the Contending. In Tim Fehlbaum's engrossing thriller September 5, an intrepid group of sports reporters and technicians find themselves covering one of the most important stories of the last century, the hostage situation at the 1972 Munich Olympics. Leonie Benesch plays Marianne, one of the five few women on the team, a German translator who becomes vital to the breaking story. I'm so happy to be speaking with Leonie. Leonie, welcome.
Thank you very much. What an intro, thanks. Thank you very much.
So, Leonie, I was so taken with your performance in this film that I wish there was a short film follow-up where we follow Marianne home and we see how she decompresses,
Yeah, I'd love to know that.
right? Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
fascinating?
Yeah. Does she have pets? Probably not. I don't know.
Right. Does she go visit mom? I mean, I was just terribly curious.
After that day, yeah, I don't know. I
Right.
mean, it's been 22 hours, so I imagine she'll just fall over in the bed. Yeah.
More than likely, yes. So let's discuss Marianne's place in the newsroom because I think it speaks to how women were mistreated and underestimated back then and still are. Marianne becomes vital to this unfolding story, but she's initially treated like an intern or some flunky. I mean, there's a scene where she's sent to get coffee. There's scenes where she's just sort of there in the background. Then all of a sudden they need her and they pluck her out. Would you speak to all of that, please?
Well, I think so. So Tim Fehlbaum, my wonderful director, he co-wrote the script together with Moritz Binder. And Tim, for the first film he ever made, it came out in 2011 called Hell. It's a dystopian, it's a dystopia drama sort of thing, a sci-fi thing. And I know that, so 2011, so he must have, they were prepping in 29, 10, something like that. And he fought major battles with all the money people because he wanted to wanted to cast a woman in the lead back then. He always says it's because he grew up with four sisters that he has quite. He's a fan of fleshed out female characters, but I know that it really haunted him that in this world of lots of men, there were not going to be a lot of female characters. So I think he really wanted to give Marianne everything that he could, because it's just one character. So I really appreciate him and Moritz actually making her the one who saves the day a lot of the time, the one who does have the answers and who does, I got to play the scenes like the one you mentioned with the coffee that has a punchline to it, which is you send the woman out of the room and she was actually the only person who could solve this. And I think it's really fun and like a fun feminist little point of view that they've built in there, and I'm very grateful for it.
Oh, it absolutely is. And she has her little moments that I love where she shushes all of them. And, there are a
Yeah,
couple of those moments where it comes through and they all pay attention to her.
yeah, yeah.
Um, September 5, it's such a fresh way to present a story that we've seen done a number of times. And I think the theme of veracity in media is so important today. Um, is that part of what drew you to the project?
I mean, I think what drew me was the script. It was really well written. It was, all the different characters had voices, and even though you would imagine it would be a boring read, lots of people talking in a control room and not, you in the action a lot of the time, but it really wasn't. It was absolutely thrilling. All these different characters had voices, and that's just you want to be involved with a project where people have put that amount of work in it. Um, and it's and as you said, when I first got the call from my agent saying, "Oh, well, there's a script coming your way. It's Munich 72." Of course, both of us were a bit like, that's, I feel like that's been done. But this is very, as you said, this is a very different perspective. And I think that's what drew me to it is because the technology has changed with which we report on breaking news, but the questions, the underlying questions, the journalistic questions have remained the same and are maybe more important, even more important now because we've kind of glossed over them or forgotten about them a lot of the time, I think.
Absolutely. And I think the younger generation, like watching and seeing these, massive cameras and the old editing, I mean, it must be a mind fuck for them.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me. I saw that editing table and like that. I cannot believe that people did this. But the film is also a little bit of a love letter to that world of analog TV, live TV making. It's amazing because Julian Wagner, our production designer, got all of these machines and most of them actually worked. And I don't know how. I mean, I know his team quite well, and I know how passionate they all are. But still, that little studio that they rebuilt after the blueprint of the original ABC studio. So it was actually the same size as the one back then would have been. That was full of all these machines, like down to the walkie-talkies that were working. So that's amazing.
It is amazing. Wow. And I mean, I think the film is also a tribute to the search for truth because I think we've gotten to a point today where we're not even sure what truth is or where to find it.
Yeah, it's very strange to be living in a world where you can just say this is an alternative fact and people run with it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to then argue. I'm finding myself a lot of the time being a little lost for words because if we can't agree on what we used to agree on was fact, then how do we speak to each other?
I completely concur. I feel the same way. It's very bizarre. It's a bizarre time to be living. Um, Also an exciting one. Uh,
You could call that.
yeah. Uh, I wanted to talk about the ensemble because you guys
Yeah.
worked so bloody well together. It was just seamless. Can you speak a little bit about working with these amazing actors?
It's fantastic. If you sign on to do an ensemble piece like this, you just don't know what you're going to get. And I know that I was the first one attached because filming kept getting pushed. I think initially before they had Sean Penn, etc., on board, it was quite tricky to get the script through to American actors. But then once that they were attached, it got easier, but still filming kept getting pushed. And Tim kept promising that he was going to get really great actors, but I'm like, of course a director is going to say that to me. So I didn't know. And then when the cast was finalized and I saw the cast sheet and I googled everyone and I knew people's work and I got a little excited. But still, you don't know if you're going to get on, and you don't know if maybe one of them is going to make it about themselves. So I think we all had that moment of the first take that we did together, realizing that everyone had come to play. And that's exciting because I think part of the reason the film works so well is because you can, I feel like I'm watching a room where the hierarchies are not being commented on, they are just clear because everyone knows their place. And that's I think, thanks to the amazing three casting directors that worked tirelessly on this. And I also think it's but it is also, I want to say, bigger stars like Peter, for example. He could have very easily made that about himself, but he came in ready to play, and so did John, of course, and Benny, and all these. Everyone had shown up and understood that this can only work if we have the same focus and we are here to, phrase been used a million times, but serve the story. And that is the energy that was on set. And that's exciting. It's also a bit scary because, if you fuck up, it's very visible.
Yeah.
But and everyone else is very good. I'm a lazy person, but so I had a little moment of going, ah, okay, I better really put in all the work because everyone else is. But that's amazing.
And every little role, right down to the woman
Yeah.
developing the film. And,
Georgina Rich, yes, she's fantastic. Yeah.
yeah. Did you guys have, I know you obviously had camera rehearsals, but did you have actor rehearsals?
Um, Not really. Actually, I don't know about the guys, but Tim and I decided quite early on that it would be good if I arrived last minute on set. And if I'm not part of the table read, because we like the idea of me being thrown into that room a little bit.
Mm.
like Marianne is thrown into that room because yeah, it's the control room is not her, that's not her comfort zone. So we liked that. I think maybe they did a table read, but I think it was all quite rushed because Peter was filming Presumed Innocent in America at the time, so it was a little bit of a back and forth. But yeah, there was not a lot of acting rehearsals, no.
Wow. Yeah, Marianne translates in the craziest manner. I know Italian, and I could never translate as fast as she does as the dialogue continues. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm sure you've been in at press conferences where you see the translators in the boxes where they do simultaneous translating. That's a fascinating profession to me. I met up with a translator in Berlin a few times because of course, Marianne doesn't get to do so like a set up professional thing of translating a speech. Like she doesn't do that, and it's not a diplomatic thing of sitting down. Everything that she does is very rushed, and they kind of just use her skills on the fly. But I wanted to catch a little bit of that concentration that simultaneous translators have when they are in that zone, because it's really fascinating to see it when when someone speaks and they are listening so intently and with one ear that they're or probably with both ears, but they're still listening to the person speak, but their mouth is already coming up with the words for what is being said at this moment. It's mad. So I tried to catch a tiny bit of that kind of concentration in some of the moments when Marianne is asked to translate. But yeah.
I loved it because I think it gave her another level of how do I put this nicely? Not that I'm smarter than all you men, but yeah, I'm smarter than all you men.
Yeah. It's like a secret wizard trick.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Venice. That's where I first saw the film, and I know
Ah,
you were there. What was the
yes.
experience like?
It's very hot. You were there.
Yes.
I was very uncomfortable. I'm not. I like the. I mean, I'm extremely white and I'm a ginger, so I like the spring. I like a little bit of sun, but that was not good. What was good, however, was the response to our film. It was very surreal because we were in this sidebar to the sidebar of Venice. We were not in the main competition, so I know, and we were all a little frustrated. Obviously, we were happy to be running in Venice, but we were still. I think all of us are like, but we feel like we made a good film. Um, so it was extremely gratifying and all the more surprising that when the reviews started coming in, they were all so absolutely fantastic. That was very surreal though, because I think we all were at a point. It was like, okay, maybe we like the film, but the rest of the world doesn't. We're kind of like, okay, we misread the room. But for then to to feel like the you and your colleagues saw it and everyone went like, why is that film not in the main competition is extremely gratifying. It's wonderful.
That was exactly the feeling. Yes. Yeah.
And you want to be, if you're going to be in the conversation, you want to be on that side of it and not be in competition. Everyone go, why is that in competition? So it's great to be the underdog, but you can't count on that working out.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, there were some films that I won't name that went into Venice with we had great hopes and did not quite. Some I think were miss read, but I won't go into that. I wanted to ask about the notion of generational guilt and responsibility that, Marianne kind of carries through the film, but there's the her last scene, which, I won't give away or anything like that. But I was wondering if, as somebody who did grow up in Germany, if you could speak a little to bringing that to her, having been born way after.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that it's obviously a big component of her character, and I'm very aware that part of the reason, like she also she's not just the translator and sort of the fixer on the ground for the journalists. She's also the face for our audience, representing a particular kind of post-war Germany that wants to acknowledge what happened and move past it. I'm finding it a little difficult speaking for, I don't know, a Germany at a time, or an entire generation, because, you have had lots of different opinions going on there. And part of that generation in particular was not talking about what happened at all. And then you had the other extreme, um, well, the extreme left, the RAF, who really resented the parents' generation. And there was terrorism on the left and everything. So I as someone, let me answer like this: as someone who's grown up in Germany and gone to school here, it is part of the curriculum at some point to, with your entire class, visit the former concentration camp. We are being taught about what happened in Germany and how that became possible. The way things are going right now, I'm feeling like, oh, what, we've got all this education and still the far right is on the rise, in Germany as well, and we've got re-elections coming up, so that's terrifying to see. But the idea of generational guilt means something to me, because part of my family's French, part is German, but still, I remember moving to England for drama school in 2013 and really wanting to lose my German accent because I didn't want to be recognized as a German. And then like that wasn't at the forefront of my mind, but it was always something I felt slightly uncomfortable with. And then that whole thing changed when Merkel in 2015 did the thing of, wir schaffen das, when she let over 1 million refugees into Germany. And then all of a sudden it was considered cool to be German and not cool to be, but I feel like I'm quite grateful to have been raised at a time in Germany with the notion of patriotism is bullshit, excuse my French, but
Mhm.
it doesn't mean anything. And worst case, it gets misused for something terrible. And the idea of being born to a particular kind of nation doesn't mean you get, like, there's no reason to be proud of anything just because you've born and your passport says this or that, which I still very strongly believe is right. um Sorry, that was a long rambling monologue, but I'm thinking of lots of different things when this comes up, because um yeah, I know something. I know what that I know. I have a little bit of a thing that I can tap into when we talk about generational guilt, but it's not something that I could play.
Yeah.
Like for Marianne, she needed, like, for me as an actor, I then think about rhythm of a scene, or the accent and how strong it is and all these things, and that generational guilt question is more of a thing that is set up in the story.
Yeah, oh, you're so right, though. There's such a thing as pride in a culture, but this notion that oh, I'm proud to be, this, or I'm proud to be that. Well,
What does that
where does that come
mean?
from? Right.
Yeah.
Right. I completely, and it kind of taps into one of the moments in the movie where one of the characters says to you, "Well, what about your parents?"
Yeah.
Like what an arrogant, thing to say. And I thought her response was fantastic, but that whole, well, I'm better than you because and I'm judging you in this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I like her answer. I like that she says I'm not them, but I do understand where the question comes from. And I have been asked this. And
Yeah,
I think that's okay. It's okay to know. It's actually important to know. Um, but but yeah, it's, you know, you are not your parents. No one is,
that's
hopefully.
exactly it. Yeah. I want to ask you how you select your projects because I wait, just Teachers Lounge. I want to talk just a little bit about because last year at this time, it was very much in the conversation, and it did go on to the 15, and then it did go on to get nominated for one of the five, and it was such a great film. Uh, what was that experience like for you?
That was again, like I feel like I feel like I'm running in circles, but it was so unexpected with the Teachers Lounge to get this far. That was very, very, very surreal because again, similar to September 5 in Venice, Teachers Lounge at Berlinale was running in the sidebar. We were very happy to be running in this at Berlinale to be shown there, but we were not shown in competition. And for SPC, Sony Pictures Classics, to then buy the film, and that I think was the only film they bought that year out of Berlinale. That was amazing. And then to go on that mad journey. Um, but how do I select my projects? I try to listen. It's always a question of money. How long have I not worked? And can I afford to say no? That's usually the biggest one. And if I can, and if I don't love it, I will probably say no. But if there's something to love, usually for me it stands and falls with the people. I have my IMDb Pro account. I always research who's involved, from especially writing, directing, but also producers. I'm really interested in who they've worked with or what they have made. I usually want to know those things. But it stands and falls. Everything stands and falls with the script. Um, yeah, but I think the the best barometer for me has always been, who are the people that are making this, and is there something to learn here?
That makes perfect sense. And I also need to shout out Babylon Berlin. I've only seen your three seasons, and it's a show that just sweeps you away. I've always been fascinated with Weimar Berlin. I've been to Berlin a number of times. I try to travel the steps
Oh
that,
yeah, I can see the DVD behind you. No,
yes,
great.
yep. And there's a wonderful tour in Berlin where you get to see the queer parts of Berlin, which is, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
a lot of
you've done
fun.
that.
I've done it. Yes, yes. So Babylon Berlin for me was just fantastic, and you were amazing in it.
Thank you. Yeah, I owe these three men a lot, Henk, Achim, and Tom. It's because I finished. No, I didn't. I was my third year drama school, and they cast me in the first season. So I left drama school, I think 3 months before we finished, I think April 2016, to film Babylon. Um, and that was amazing
Yeah.
because it's, again, very well written, incredibly well researched, extraordinary sets, great dialogue, fascinating story, and yeah,
Yeah.
I
I,
can't.
what's up next for you that you can tell us about?
Well, before the Oscars this year, so 24, I filmed a project in Switzerland called The English Tiger Will Be Late Shift. Um, and I got to see it 2 weeks ago, and it's really good. I'm very happy with it. The pitch is we get to accompany a nurse, moi, for one entire shift, and it's meant to be a love letter to that profession because my wonderful director Petra Wolpe, she also wrote the script. Um, she's I mean she's amazing, but she wrote this because she is so in awe of people who go into that profession, not doctors, but nursing. And it's I'm pretty sure that's the same in the US, but in Germany and Switzerland, there are so many people who are not, even though they, in theory, well, they love that profession, the realities that, or the reality of the circumstances on the job just mean that people drop out after a while because it's too much. there's not enough funding and too many patients, the hours are insane and all of that. But so yes, so that's a film I'm very proud of, and I hope we get to share that with the world soon. And everything else I can't talk about. Oh, actually, there is a series, but I don't know what's happening with that. That I filmed in Belgium last year, and my co-stars are writing me because it's out on Belgium television, but I haven't seen any of it. It's called Morisnet.
Oh,
Um, but my colleague texted me actually yesterday saying that I'm great in episode 4, and I have no idea because I haven't seen anything yet. Actually, I saw the first two at Cannes Series this year, but I'm curious to see if that maybe gets sold to someone. Um,
possibly
or-
Netflix. I'm not just putting it out there.
don't know. I don't know.
Well, Leonie, thank you so much for sitting down with us. I think this is one of the best films of 2024. I think your
Thank you.
performance is extraordinary in it, and I hope it's the sleeper that I think it can be.
Thank you very, very much for having me, Frank, and
Thank
for your
you.
kind.
Thanks.